Hi besties, welcome or welcome back. Welcome to another video. Who is even surprised that I am in the world's biggest reading slump ever? I am really struggling right now. I've got no motivation to pick books up. I feel like anything I have been picking up, I've not been enjoying as much as I thought I would or that I normally would if I wasn't in a reading slump, if that makes sense. So authors and books from a series that under normal circumstances would be great have not been necessarily. I don't really know how to explain that, but all of that to say, I'm in a gigantic reading slump. So I thought we could do a bit of mood reading this week. Let's be honest, 90% of the time I mood read anyway, and any books I do read for videos kind of correlate to me picking up just whatever the hell I want to pick up. But I thought for this week we'll do no sort of challenge, no readathon, no such a thing chooses my reads, literally just me picking up whatever the hell I want to read and seeing if we can get out of a slump. That's kind of the premise I'm going with right now. Just me and you mood reading for a week. And in case you were curious, yes, Onyx Storm has put me in this reading slump. No, I will not forgive Rebecca Yarros for the heartbreak I'm currently still facing. A month later, Rebecca Yarros, count your motherfucking days. I swear. Because why does she do this to me every single time, and why do I not learn my lesson? I feel like I need to schedule in a month of reading slump after reading one of her books. I don't know what she puts in them. But anyway, I am currently reading Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I am enjoying this. I feel like when I pick it up, it's enjoyable and I struggle to put it down because each chapter is ending on something where I'm like, oh my god, I need to keep reading. But I am 150 pages in and I feel like it's taken this far for the stakes to be high enough to keep me interested. I don't know, but I'm currently about 150 pages into this. I am enjoying it. Not really got the motivation to sit and read, but I'm trying my best. And that's all that matters. So I'm going to continue reading this and I will be back with an update when I get maybe halfway through, or I don't know. Just whenever I have something to say. Hello, I am now 50% of the way through Divine Rivals and I am enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. I have tried to read this before a couple of times on my Kindle and I just couldn't really get into it. As I said at the beginning, the stakes aren't very high and it was reading more like, I guess, a cozy fantasy. But now that the stakes are getting higher, I'm definitely enjoying it a lot more. And I love seeing the very subtle changes in correspondence between Iris and Roman. I feel like I should probably explain what this book's about, even though it's a very well-loved, popular book, and you probably all know what it's actually about. But Iris and Roman have these essentially magic typewriters which allows them to correspond and send letters to each other no matter where they are, because their typewriters are essentially connected, I guess. And Iris and Roman are both journalists. Hi, Regan from the future here. I didn't explain this book very well at all, actually. Essentially, Iris and Roman are both journalists and they both work for this company and they're competing for this senior role that they both want, but obviously only one of them can get it, so they're workplace rivals. And Iris's brother has gone to war to fight for the gods, so she has been writing letters on her typewriter to Roman and putting them in her wardrobe. They've been disappearing, so she thought her letters were going to her brother. They weren't going to her brother, they were going to her rival Roman, who has been reading her letters, and he starts writing back on his typewriter. Their typewriters are connected, which allows them to send their letters no matter where they are in the world. And that whole premise of the typewriters gets explained a little bit later in the book. But what I was trying to explain is that Iris is writing to her brother, but it's not her brother that's replying, it's actually Roman. Iris doesn't know it's Roman, but Roman knows it's Iris. So he's writing back under a name so she doesn't find out that it's him. But they are essentially workplace rivals. They both work for this newspaper company. They're both journalists. And they're sending letters back and forth, and you slowly start to see their romance blossom through these letters. But of course, Roman knows that it's Iris. Iris doesn't know it's Roman, so she starts falling for this guy who's writing letters for it. And unbeknownst to her, it's her rival. You know? Does that make a little bit more sense than what I was actually explaining in the video? Because I don't know what she was on about. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because maybe this isn't actually explaining it all that well, but I feel like I'm doing a better job than that girl did. But I'm really enjoying seeing the very little changes in their letters and the way they sign them off. And I've just got to a part where I noticed they signed their letters off differently to each other, and I just thought it was so cute. This book is very romantic, very poetic. I've got so many annotations and highlights in this, and I'm just happy that I'm enjoying it more than I thought I would. But I will say, I absolutely hate the colour highlighter I've picked to highlight this book. I don't know if you can see that, but the highlighter I've used is a little bit too dark. You can still see the words that I've highlighted, so it's not that deep, but I'm kind of annoyed at myself that I feel like I've ruined this really beautiful edition because my annotations are just so dark. I don't know, but that's got nothing to do with the book at all. That's just my own fault. But I'm now on chapter 24, and I just love their letters. Roman is so lovely in the things he says to her when he's writing to her. And I feel like when I sit down and actually read and annotate this book, I really enjoy it. But because I'm in a reading slump, the second I put it down, I don't have the motivation to pick it back up. So as of right now, I don't know if this will get me out of a reading slump, but I am only halfway through. So we will see. I think that's the most disgusting match I've ever made in my life. I love him. It is now the next day, and I managed to finish Divine Rivals last night. I started reading it on my Kindle so I could turn the lights off, switch off and go to sleep. That was not the case at all. I ended up staying awake till 3 a.m. to finish this book because I actually could not put it down. I couldn't do it. I had to finish it. It felt so real. The element of war and survival gave it a real historical fiction kind of feeling, and then with the added elements of creatures and little bits of magic just completely topped it off for me. Getting to see the romance blossom through the letters and just getting to see how they got to know one another and they got to really understand each other before they'd officially met, I guess. All the very slight changes in the way they wrote to each other and the way they signed off their letters was so beautiful. The world building seems a little bit complex at the start, but it was sprinkled throughout so well that by the end of the book you just know exactly what's going on. You can imagine everything so clearly. You really learn about all of the gods and the aspects of war so gradually, and there was just absolutely no info dumping at all. So when you start reading this and it's kind of going on about gods and this war that's happening far away, it seems intimidating, but it's really not, because it's so well paced that you just forget that you're learning things, and then you finish the book and you just know everything. Like, you know exactly what the gods are, what they do, how this war has come about. The descriptions of everything were just so beautiful and raw. I did say in my first update that it was reading a little bit young for me, but then the further you get into it, I just completely forgot that this was a young adult book, because the second you start to understand the world and you see the character development, kind of young writing just completely goes away. The topics of war and grief in this were a lot bigger of a topic than I thought it was going to be, which honestly I loved. It was just written so raw and emotional that I forgot that these weren't real characters and this isn't a real war that's happened, because dealing with loss of life and the casualties of war was so well written that all of the characters just felt so real. It was just completely addicting. The slow burn romance in this was so beautiful and was enough to keep me gripped, but then when we strayed away from the romance, I wasn't bored. There were still little bits in there that kept you hooked on the story. I just can't believe I waited so long to read this book because I thought I wouldn't like it. That's crazy to me. Why did I wait so long to read this? It's popular for a reason. I need to remember that when people are hyping up books. Like, there's a reason they're hyping them up, and I completely understand people's obsession with this book now, and I'm so happy I finally read it. It's just a perfect fantasy for beginners or lovers of the genre. It was paced excellently. I cannot fault the pacing in this book. I honestly just cannot give this book enough praise. I was toying with the idea of giving it a 5-star, but I feel like the start and some of the middle parts before we saw aspects of the war didn't give me that 5-star feeling, even though the end gave me that 5-star feeling. So I'm still in between. I think I'm going to settle on a 4.5 because I feel like it's not quite a 5-star, but it still gave me those 5-star feelings. I don't know. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. Whether I change my mind by the time I edit this, we'll see. But this was honestly just so beautiful, and I feel like I really need to read the second book immediately. But I think I'm gonna just not read it yet, because this book devastated me, and the cliffhanger and plot twist at the end was just heartbreaking. And I don't think I'm ready to go into the second book yet, because this is only a duology, and once I read that second book, it's over, and I don't think I'm ready for that. But this book was just perfect, and I actually think I'm going to make it my whole personality trait for the foreseeable future. And then the next book I think I'm going to pick up is The Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. This is the second book in the Crimson Moth / Heartless Hunter in the US. This is the second book and final book in the duology. I'm going to be so honest, I don't remember a whole lot about the first book. I remember enjoying it and I liked the concept of it, and at times it was very gripping, but I also remember thinking it was a little bit too young adult for me. I feel like this is a theme recently for me. I keep saying it, but I love young adult fantasy. Very fine line between it being young adult and being too young and childish, and I feel like The Crimson Moth was maybe on the younger side for me, but I enjoyed the premise and it ended on a really big cliffhanger, so I am continuing because this is only 2 books. It's not like I've got to dive into a whole 10 book series to complete this. So I did pre-order the book and I got it, so I was like, might as well read it. But I don't actually remember a lot about the first book other than Rune, our female main character, is a witch and Gideon is a witch hunter. I don't remember the ins and outs of everything that happened. I really need to go and watch a recap video of the first book before I go into this, because I feel like I'm going to go into this and just be so confused. I remember the ending and I feel like that's the most important part, I guess. But the main reason I'm picking this up right now is because I've got the physical copy, but I've also got the audiobook downloaded so I can switch between, and I am working this weekend, and as we all know by now, I spend my shifts listening to audiobooks, so I could probably fly through this quite quickly. And I also just love an audiobook, especially when I'm at work, because my shifts just go so much faster because I'm so immersed in what's going on in my ears. So this is the next book that I'm going to pick up. We will see if I enjoy this maybe a little bit more than the first book. I think I rated the first book 3 stars, so not bad at all, but it definitely wasn't my favourite fantasy book. I feel like Divine Rivals really did it for me with the whole reading slump situation. So we're on the right track to getting out of a slump, which is so fun. And I also just love mood reading. I love that I can just pick up whatever book I want. This is so fun. I've just watched a recap of Heartless Hunter / Crimson Moth. I'm probably gonna call it both because I keep forgetting which one's for the UK. But I just watched a recap. This is the one that I watched. It's Bookish and Beverages, and she did an excellent recap on everything that happened in the first book. So I feel like I'm pretty up to date now. Probably missing a few little things, but you know what? I get the whole concept. We're up to date. I'm ready to go on the Rebel Witch. So I'm now going to start reading and I'll come back with updates when I'm maybe halfway through, or who knows at this point. Hello. I am about 100 pages into the Rebel Witch. I think I'm gonna soft DNF this. I actually just don't care about any of it. I feel like it's a chore reading it because there's just a lot going on, but none of it's interesting enough for me to want to pick it up at all. And I'm unfortunately standing my ground in the fact that I think this is just reading a bit too young for me. I felt the same with the first book. The plot in the first book was enough to grip me, even though I felt like it was written a little bit childish, which is strange because it's still insinuating adult content. It's a young adult book, but it's insinuating about adult content, like closed door kind of thing. And like this is the same, but it's just reading so young. The way it's written and the way things are described is, I don't know if middle grade is a bit too harsh, but I don't know. I'm just not enjoying it. And it's making me so sad because the reviews for this book are incredible and everyone else is loving it and I just don't care. I probably will go back to it at some point, but right now I don't want to force myself to read it and then rate it low because I've had to force myself to read it. Does that make sense? I would rather pick it back up when I feel like I'm actually in the mood for it and I could overlook the young writing, but as of right now, it's just bothering me how young it's written. I don't know, I feel like I'm in such a minority with this one. But anyway, I think I'm going to soft DNF. 100 pages in, I need something that's going to really grip me, and this unfortunately is not working for me. So I have no idea what else I'm going to pick up. I just don't want something that's going to be so complex that it's going to make me feel more slumpy. But then I also keep picking up young adult fantasy and then complaining that it's written young. It's such a me problem, and I don't want to be rating books low because I'm picking them up knowing full well they're young adult and then critiquing them when they're written young. Does that make any sense? I feel like this is just the reading slump talking, and all of these problems normally wouldn't bother me, but right now I'm being so picky. But I'm gonna find something else to read and I will come back and update you on what I decided on, because right now I genuinely have no idea what I want to pick up. Oh. Hello, it's now the next day I've just got back from class, so I'm gonna sit and read for the rest of the day. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to pick up after DNFing, what was that called? The Rebel Witch. I just couldn't get into it. I feel like I just wasn't in the mood for a fantasy. So I had no idea what I wanted to read, and I decided to pick up Binding 13. I have had these sitting on my shelf, just looking at me, just waiting to be picked up. So I started this last night. I have got this beautiful US edition and it's actually a joy to read because it's so floppy. I will say the pages in this are like, I don't know why I'm showing you, like you'll be able to see, but they're really thin and the writing is tiny. It's got tiny margins. This is going to take me so long to get through. But I started it last night. I'm on page 80, which is chapter 7. I'm loving this. I've heard so many people complaining about the way it's kind of like Wattpad writing. As a girl who literally grew up reading Wattpad books way too old for my age, I'm really enjoying this. I just have a feeling this book's going to take over my whole personality. It's very character driven, basically just like no plot, just vibes, which to be fair I actually love sometimes. Like I feel like when I'm feeling a bit slumpy, I feel like just reading about characters that I can fall in love with is perfect. And this series is so well loved and I'm actually so excited to be reading it. And I'm just loving it. There's just nothing going on, but in the best way possible. Do you know what I mean? So I'm currently reading this. Probably going to take a really long time to read, so I don't know if I'll finish it in this video. Maybe I'll just finish this video whenever I finish the book, who knows? But it's actually quite a nice day. And the sun is out. I will say I have been outside, obviously walking to and from my class. It's not warm at all. The sun's out, but it's freezing. So I'm contemplating maybe putting a hoodie on and going sitting in the courtyard potentially. But then it's also really cold, so I'm like, do I just stay in? But if the sun's out, I kind of don't want to stay in. I don't know. All of that to say, I am enjoying this so far. Obviously, not even 100 pages in, but it's great, and I think it's probably about to take over my whole life and gonna be my new personality trait for the foreseeable future. And maybe if I like this, I will sit and binge the rest of them, but then it's over. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling. I'm gonna sit and read this and just have a great time. I'm not even 100 pages into book 1 yet. I can't wait for Gibbsy's book. Why do I love him so much? This isn't even his book. I thought I'd give a little 100-page update. I'm 100 pages in. I've obviously only read like 20 pages since I last spoke to you, but I am really enjoying this. Something about the writing is just so addictive. There's not really anything happening, but it's just so fun. You're just following a group of characters and I'm loving it. I will say there's no romance or anything. I've not got that far. But because this series is obviously so well loved, I know what characters the other books sort of follow. So seeing little snippets of them, knowing they've got a book coming is really exciting. And I can't wait for Johnny and Shannon to start having proper interactions and for like the romance to start. I know this book is probably going to absolutely destroy me. So ready for it. Obviously the writing it's Wattpaddy. It's reading like a fan fiction, which I actually love. I used to stay up all night reading 1,000+ page fan fictions on One Direction, as a 14-year-old girl does. I was way too young to be reading some of the content in those fan fictions, but completely besides the point. I used to absolutely love reading fan fiction, so this book feeling like that, just, it feels nostalgic. I think that's the best way I can put it. But those were the original 24-hour readathons. I would literally stay awake all night. I would have school in the morning and I would be up all night reading about Harry Styles. But I am just really enjoying this. The only thing is I'm really struggling to stay focused, so I'm only reading one chapter at a time. I will say the chapters in this are pretty long. It's taken me half an hour maybe to read just one chapter. They're like 20 pages long, which doesn't seem that long, but it is. Like, they're not short chapters. And because it's not very plot driven, just character driven, sometimes I'm like getting a little bit distracted. So I'm going to set up an hour timer, and I've got my Kindle set up on the stand, and I'm just gonna sit and read with no phone. My phone is in the other room, and I'm just gonna sit and read for an hour, and hopefully I can get the ball rolling a little bit more, because I just keep getting so distracted. I don't think it helps either though. I live in apartments, I can hear my neighbour that way, I can hear my neighbour that way. It's a lot. There's a lot of noise living in a city centre in an apartment building. So anyway, completely getting off the point. I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to sit and read for the next hour with no distractions, fingers crossed. And then I'll maybe be back when more starts actually happening in the book, because right now, not a whole lot going on. Just following a load of characters, getting to know them, seeing a little bit about their past. And that's all I wanted to update you on, basically. I managed to read up to page 147, so 45 pages, which isn't too bad for an hour, I guess, considering the font is tiny and the margins are tiny and the words take up every little bit of page. So 45 pages is actually quite good. I'm up to chapter 50, but I might do that more often. That was fun, and it allowed me to just not do anything for an hour and just sit and read. But I've stopped halfway through a chapter, so I'm just going to keep reading anyway till the end of this chapter, and then I'm going to make some food. First of all, I just want to address this. I haven't got a black eye. I'm having an eczema flare up on my eyes, and I fear it looks like I've got a bit of a shiner. I promise I haven't. Just thought I would put that out there before someone thinks I've been punched. I haven't, I just have eczema. Anyway, it's currently about 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't stop reading this book. I'm completely addicted. There's literally nothing going on, but also so much going on. I don't know, it's incredible. It's so character driven. It's literally just following these characters as they get about their average teenage antics, but it's so good. I will say it's taken me so long to actually get through this. I'm currently on page 345, and this book doesn't look that thick, but this is the US edition. For context, the UK edition is, I think, just under 1,000 pages, so it's taken me a while to get through it. But I'm loving every single second of it. I can't put it down. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm still awake. I'm wide awake and I'm still reading. I love it. They have mentioned maybe about 1,000 times how small Shannon is. Within the first 5 pages, they've mentioned at least 6 times that Shannon was tiny. It's one of the like big points in the book that Shannon is so small and fragile and tiny. Getting a little bit repetitive, but I love the book that much that I just don't care. I also love Joey, Shannon's brother. He just says exactly what's on his mind. He has absolutely no filter. The way he takes care of Shannon and their family is just so emotional. I don't know. And I just have a feeling something really traumatic is going to happen at the end of this book, and I'm going to be absolutely heartbroken. Because every video I've ever seen of this book is people crying, and I'm like, I'm kind of scared, but I can't stop reading it. I need to know what's going to happen. This book's taking over my life. I've not even finished it yet. Oh my god. I actually love this. I love this so much. I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm sat here giggling over Shannon and Johnny's interactions. I obviously don't want to tell you anything that's happening because I obviously don't want to spoil anything, but I'm at a part right now where they're having this interaction and it's just so cute. Just some of the things he says to her, things he does for her. I love them. I fear I love them so much, and this book's probably about to break my heart. I'm so ready for it. Also, if he calls her Shannon like the river one more time, I fear I might lose my shit a little bit, because I get it. You don't need to keep saying it. I know, Shannon like the river, whatever. I don't care anymore. They're also consistently mentioning how big Johnny is, and he's so muscly and he's so tall for his age and he's so much bigger than everyone else. I don't care. I just want to see them together. Do you know what I mean? Other than that, I don't really have any other complaints. I will say, if you don't like character-driven books, or you don't like writing that feels very like fan fiction-y, probably don't read this. But then again, I also think I would recommend this book to everyone at this point. Not even finished it. I don't know. That was literally all I wanted to say. I can't put this book down. I'm obsessed. I'm completely addicted. It's just started absolutely hammering it down outside, so if you can hear the rain, I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do about the UK weather. But I did finish Binding 13 last night. That book was a roller coaster to say the least. I also realised I never actually explained what the book was about because I was so deep in reading it. But we are following Shannon, who is 15 at the start of the book. She's had a very rough upbringing. She's been bullied her whole life. Her father is an alcoholic. He's very abusive towards Shannon and, well, her whole family, and essentially just blames Shannon for everything that happens, and she ends up getting a battering for literally anything her dad can possibly blame on her. She was bullied really badly in her old school, so she gets moved to Tommen College, where on her first day she has a bit of an altercation, we'll say, with Johnny, who is our male main character. He is the captain of the rugby team. This is set in Ireland, so very big on rugby. A lot of the main plot in the book is about Johnny and him wanting to be a professional rugby player. He wants to play for his country, and we are just following Johnny and Shannon as they become friends. They start to form this very complicated romance because their families don't want them to be together, or Shannon's family doesn't want Shannon to be with Johnny. You'd understand if you read the book, but I don't want to give too much away because I honestly think the best decision ever was me going into this book blind and having no idea what was going to happen. But we're following Johnny and Shannon and their whole sort of friendship group, seeing what they get up to as teenagers in Ireland in school. But it is a very emotional book. If domestic violence or injury or hospitals or anything like that is something that you would be triggered by, I would definitely stay clear, or at least please read up on the trigger warnings, because I was not prepared for what this book was about or some of the content that was in it because I didn't know anything about it before I went in. So please, please, please read some trigger warnings if that is something that is going to trigger you. Please, I beg you, look after your mental health because I feel like I'm a mess right now. There is a big scene at the end of the book which I'm not going to tell you anything about, but safe to say it's broken me a little bit. As you saw from the previous clips of me finishing the book, I was a mess. I still feel like a little bit of a mess. And I immediately went and started to read Keeping 13, which is the second book following Johnny and Shannon. I am obsessed with this series. There's no going back now. This series has taken over my whole life. And in case you couldn't tell by the gigantic grin on my face, this book was the easiest 5-star ever. It is very character driven. And I feel like in the clips of me first starting this book, I kept saying, oh, it's so fun, you're just following these characters. This book is not fun, it's traumatizing. But I loved the main characters, I loved all the side characters, I loved everyone in the friendship group and all of the drama that comes along with being in high school. This book was just perfect. And I did in fact read a 900-page book in 2 days, which I'm pretty sure is a record for me. So if that tells you anything, who knows. But I am going to end this video here. I don't think you want to see me read Keeping 13 and more of me just crying for hours. So I'm going to end this video, but it is safe to say I am well and truly out of my reading slump. That book just did it for me. I can't not read the second book, and then I'm going to read the third and the fourth and the fifth book. And it's just been announced that a new book is coming out in May as well, following 2 other characters. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. I'm just so glad I picked that book up, and my eyes are all puffy because I've been crying. She Will Be Loved by Maroon 5 is officially one of my new favourite songs, and that's all I have to say. You're welcome. Another video of me just crying. Again, what's new? But the main point is I'm out of my reading slump, and that's all I care about right now. But thank you for coming along on this very emotional journey. But if you would like to see more from me, stick around, show some love. Please subscribe if you would like to see more of my very emotional and chaotic reading. And I will see you in the next one.